Hi friends, good morning and how are you all? I hope you are all making yourselves busy, seriously studying and getting ready for the coming exams, and you all have to perform well, because this is only a way that we can help you out. Because of this pandemic situation, we are not able to help you out more than this. So make use of this opportunity that is given to you and try your level best and perform to the best of your abilities. And we are studying about the wildlife resources and the natural vegetation, the forest. So we saw in the last class there were so many species were there, but now some of them have become extinct, some of them are in danger of extinction, and some of them are vulnerable, and some are very rarely found, and so on. So it is a very shameful thing for us to say that because of our human activities, because of our carelessness, that precious species of animals and plants are disappearing from the earth. So the nature has given them to enrich the earth, but we are destroying them for our selfish purpose and so on. And we said one of the animal species that has become extinct is Asiatic cheetah. So cheetah is the world's fastest animal. They can run so fast, and their speed is approximately, we can say, 112 kilometers per hour. So much faster than the vehicles and so on. So it can run 112 kilometers per hour. That's a great speed, but unfortunately it has become extinct. It is no more found in the earth. So you can take in your textbook page number 16. So the world's fastest land mammal, the cheetah, is a unique and specialized member of the cat family and can move at a speed of 112 km per hour. So it is also belonging to the cat family, like the tiger and leopard and so on. And the cheetah is often mistaken for a leopard. So if you look at a leopard and a cheetah, both somewhat look alike. Lot of similarities are there in color and so on, but they are not exactly same. They are different variety. There are some ways to make out or distinguish between leopard and a cheetah. Let's see how. Its distinguishing marks are the long teardrop shaped lines on each side of the nose from the corner of its eyes to its mouth. So from the corner of the eye to the nose and to the mouth, there is like a tear is dropping down. So that mark is there. So only cheetah will have that. Leopard will not have that. So there is a mark like tears falling down from eyes to the nose and to the mouth. That is a mark. If that mark is there, then we can be sure that it is a cheetah. Prior to the 20th century, that is before 20th century, cheetahs were widely distributed throughout Africa and Asia. So before the 20th century, a lot of cheetahs were there in India, in Asia and Africa. But today the Asian cheetah is nearly extinct due to decline of available habitat and prey. So why this animal is no more found, or it may be found one or two maybe here and there, but it is almost extinct. What is the reason? It is mainly because the habitat is destroyed. So people have destroyed the habitat of these animals. So where it used to stay, where it used to breed, all that area is destroyed, and this animal finds no place for shelter and for breeding and so on. Another reason why this animal is becoming less or extinct is the lack of prey. It is not getting enough food to eat. So naturally the animal will become weaker and it will die off. So the lack of food and lack of habitat. These are the two reasons why Asiatic cheetah has become almost extinct. So the species was declared extinct in India long back in 1952. So some 70 years ago, this cheetah is no more found in India, and so the authorities have declared that cheetah has become extinct in India. It may be in other parts of Africa or Asia and so on, but in India it has become extinct. It is no more found. So that is very unfortunate thing, that such a beautiful animal which can run faster than any other animal has become extinct, is not fit or did not find a fit place in India to live. That is very shameful for all of us. Then now let us see what are the negative factors that cause such a fearful depletion of flora and fauna. So we said in India the flora and the fauna, they are getting depleted, becoming lesser and lesser. So what are those negative factors that are affecting? What are the critical things that are affecting the extinction, the existence of these plants and animals? So if you look around, you will be able to find out how we have transformed nature into resource obtaining directly and indirectly from the forest and wildlife. So if you look around the world, if you look around in your own house or in the shops in the town and so, we will realize that most of the things that we use or most of the things that are in the market kept for selling, it is coming from animals or from the forest. So we are converting the animals or the forest into a resource center. We want to go and acquire or encroach all that area and acquire all the resources there. That is what we will find in the world. So if you look around, you find a lot of furnitures in the house with wood, made with wood. So all that wood is coming from a forest. So we are cutting down the trees in order to make furnitures in our house, in our shops, in our offices and so on. Then we find a lot of barks are there. So some of the barks of the tree, bark means the skin of the tree, that is used for medicinal purpose, or some are using for as a spices and so on. So if you cut down the bark of the tree, that tree is going to die. So without the skin, the tree cannot survive. Most of them will die. So that is another thing. Because of this human activity, the trees are gone. Then leaves. We depend on the tree for certain kind of leaves, maybe for spices or maybe for cooking and so on. So we go on cutting the trees of that leaves of that tree, and finally that tree will die. Or we use the tree for rubber, especially rubber trees. We go and cut the skin or the bark of the tree and we extract the latex of the rubber in order to make a lot of rubber items. So if you look in the world today, all the tires are made, vehicle tires are made with rubber, a lot of rubber items are there. So all these are coming from trees. Then for medicine, a lot of medicines are made from plants, especially the medicinal plants that are grown in the forest area, and so we go and pluck it and make medicines. Then for dyes, dye means for making color. Many people apply color on their hair and so on. So for applying color, for making different colors, not only for hair but on the clothes, on the dress, so many clothes we come across with multi-colors. So all that colors are made from different plants. Then for food, we depend on the tree to pluck their fruits and so on. Then for fuel, we cut down the tree and make firewood, that is for fuel purpose. Then for fodder, we cut the trees, the leaves or we cut the grass as a fodder for animals. So we are destroying them. Then in order to make manure, sometimes we cut the leaves of the tree and put in a field, so that field will become more fertile. So whatever activities that we are doing, it is mainly depending on the plants of the earth. So for satisfying our needs, we destroy them, and slowly they become lesser and lesser, and finally there will be no more trees, or trees will be very less. So when we cut one tree, we need to make sure that we are planting 2 other trees in other place, so that then there will be balance, there will be increase. Because a small tree, if you plant, it will take years to become big. We are cutting down a big tree and we are planting a small tree. It will take so many 30-40 years to become a big tree. So we need to plant 2 trees, then only it will be equalized. So it is we ourselves depleted our forests and wildlife. So we ourselves are responsible for depleting, for reducing the forest as well as the wild animals, because of our deeds, because of our greediness, because of our too many needs. We are going on using the forest, we are using different types of plants and even animals. Then the greater damage inflicted on Indian forest. So as we are cutting the trees, we are inflicting a lot of damages. We are causing a lot of damages. What is the greatest of them? It was during the colonial period. During the colonial period, that means when the British was ruling India, that time only we did the greatest harm to the forest and the wildlife. So how did we do harm during the British rule? It was due to the expansion of railways, agriculture, commercial and scientific forestry and mining activities. So during the British rule, British introduced railway in India, and so in order to allow the railway line to pass through, we had to cut down a lot of forests. So railway we cannot allow to go through the town. It has to go through areas where people are not living. So the forest areas were chosen to make the railway line. So a lot of trees were cut down. Then the British government wanted to cultivate more, to create more agricultural field. So they cut down the forest and so on. Then they also initiated commercial and scientific forestry. So they also created forests in order to make commercial purpose, to cut down the tree and sell it. So that is called commercial forestry, or scientific forestry, that is planting trees with a certain scientific method. We are not simply going and planting here and there, but plant in line with the proper distance so that the tree can grow and so on. So the British cut down the forest and they said we will plant scientifically with the proper line, proper distance and so on. So in that way all these decisions were done by or taken by the British government, and that also caused damage to this forest in India. Then mining activities also. To do the mining, they have to cut down the trees, because most of the mine areas were in the forest. So they have to cut down the trees in order to do the mining and so on. Then even after independence, so afterwards India got independence, the British were backed off, and then what did the Indian government do? Even after the independence, agricultural expansion continues to be a major cause for depletion of forest resources. So when India got freedom, India government realized that the population is so high and the food grain that we are producing is too less, not enough to satisfy all the people in the country. So we need to make more farmland. So they said we shall cut down the forest and make more farmland to cultivate food grains, and to feed the people. So that was the emergency at that time. because without food, if you keep the people, they will not be healthy, they will not be able to do the work, and they will die finally. So in order to make the people healthy, to give them enough food, the government said we shall cut down the forests and make agricultural land. So that became another reason why the forests became less in our country. Then between 1951 and 1980, so between 1951 to 1980, that is some 30 years. So during these 30 years, according to Forest Survey of India, over 26,200 square kilometers of forest area was converted into agricultural land all over India. So during these 30 years, how much of forest land was lost? 26,200 square kilometers. So this much land was lost during these 30 years. This much of land was lost. Lost means forest land was lost. They were converted to agricultural land. So we can imagine such a vast area was cut down and made into cultivable land, agricultural land. Then substantial parts of the tribal belt, especially in the northeastern and central India, have been deforested or degraded by shifting cultivation. So a lot of areas in the North India or northeastern and the central India, the people who are living in northeast and central India, what happens? They are practicing a type of agriculture called shifting cultivation, or it is also called Jung cultivation. So in Jung cultivation, what do? Is they go and cut down the forest or the trees of that area, then they burn that tree there and then they cultivate there. So they cultivate for 2 years or 3 years there, then the soil's fertility is lost, then they move to another place, cut down the trees there and do the same process there, burn it, then cultivate few years there, then move to another place. So they keep on moving, shifting the place of cultivation. That is why it is called shifting cultivation, or it is also said slash and burn cultivation. So they slash down the trees and then burn it. So it is also said Jung cultivation. It has got different names in different parts of India. So quite many people in India, they follow this method of cultivation. So for their cultivation, they go on cutting the forest, clearing the forest, and they cultivate there. Especially in the hills of northeast, we will find this type of cultivation is very prevalent, and they do a lot of cultivation every year, or after a few years they go on changing it, and then they destroy the forest that is growing in that regions. So that is a very risky thing, very dangerous thing. We are destroying the forest and we are destroying the nature as well. So we said during the colonial rule, this destruction of forest was done because of their policies. They wanted to make a railway, they wanted to use land for agriculture, they wanted to use the land for scientific forestry, commercial forestry, or for mining and so on. So British aim was to get maximum profit. They were planning all these things for their own development, to get profit from India and carry to their land in England. That was their purpose. So for that, they never cared about the environment of India. They never worried about the preservation of forests or wildlife in India. They wanted immediate benefit, and they were asking the people of India to do that, to cut down the forest and start cultivation there, or cut it for making railway line there, or for forest and so on. So they did all these things. But can we say we can blame the colonial rule? Can we say the colonial rule alone was responsible for the destruction of forests? Can we say? That is our question. So we will know that it is not only they that was destroying the forest, but even the Indians, they were also part of this destruction, that is that affected the forest, the wildlife, and so on. So though it is late, it is time for us to realize the mistake of the past. And if you analyze properly, we will find that we are also doing that same mistake. The mistake that our ancestors were doing. The destruction of forest and wildlife for our own benefit, for our own usefulness, or for our own use, or for our own satisfaction. And now the present generation is suffering. They see the temperature is rising, we see the air pollution has increased. So a lot of things have taken place because of our forefathers' activities. And it is our duty, our responsibility to realize their mistake and we not to repeat that same mistakes. Otherwise, there will be no difference between we and our forefathers. Our forefathers were doing it out of ignorance, but now we are educated. We know about the importance of forest and wildlife, how important it is to keep them balanced in the biosphere, in the atmosphere, and so on. So we cannot just ignore them and say, let it go on. If you go on, then after some time, the human beings also will become extinct in this world. We will not be able to survive because of this situation that is very serious, that is against the natural balance, and we will not be able to survive because of high temperature, polluted air, lack of oxygen, and so it will happen, it will affect our life, and we will be really struggling. So as we learn these things, let's also make sure that we practice it in our life. Let's also teach others about the importance of preserving the nature and so on. So we shall wind up for today, and the next class we will learn about the impact of colonial rule. How the British, can we blame the British alone for destroying our forests or for depletion of wildlife and the natural vegetation and so on. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.